Across the border we go and up into the Highlands of Scotland. It is, of course, Knockhill that hosts round 7 of TCUK for 2023. It's been an absolutely exciting season so far, but it's certainly getting to crunch time as we have just 4 rounds to go before we see the champion crowned at Brands Hatch in October. Myself, Cameron Rogers, Zach Sweeney alongside me today for what is hopefully, Zach, going to be a really awesome track. It's going to be very tight, very twisty. It's probably a lot more difficult to overtake, but certainly the action and the tension is going to be high as ever.
Oh, it will be. Again, I am so looking forward to having the 3 races that we've got here tonight. Knockhill, such a fun, fast, interesting circuit to say the least, and should definitely play host to 3 fantastic races. Obviously coming off the back 2 weeks ago at Croft was absolute mayhem, carnage across the board, and well, I'm sure we're going to be expecting a little bit more of the same here as we battle our way through one of the best tracks in the UK.
Yes, certainly. It's the only time that we head to Scotland, and as you see, we've got 3 banging races coming to finish after this one as well. We've still got Donington Park GP, Silverstone National and Brands Hatch GP to finish the season. And of course, we've been to some of the more major circuits throughout England and now into Scotland. Here's how your championship lays out, though, after 6 rounds previously at Croft. Here's Matt Richards leading the way by 31 points to Dan Hurlock. The only reason why Hurlock is behind is because he missed the round at Snetterton. Otherwise, he would probably be leading. They are having a very close battle. Thomas O'Leary in behind, starting to get a little bit closer, maybe having a charge for second place if Hurlock has some struggles. Callum Cripps in behind in 4th place. Ross McGregor rounding out your top 5 before we've seen a really close battle towards the mid part of this top 10 with John Munro not too far behind. His teammate Dan Kell in 7th place. Callum Wilson, Lewis Redshaw and Ryan Elliott round out your top 10 in the drivers' standings. But as ever, it's also the team standings that we need to look at. Richardson Co leading the way with RSR in 2nd place. The points gap getting quite large now for the title at least, but for 2nd place, Rocket Simsports are getting ever closer on 313 points, so not too far away. DMA, Thomas O'Leary's team there in 4th place with Calamity Motorsport in 5th. Drake, Kings, Ballas, Esport, Team Butchie and TR Powered by Geeks round out your top 10. And it's what a championship we're having, Zach, to be honest. It's been an enthralling one. It's been new to you and me, but we've seen with this 3-race format, with the tyre selections, with the weight ballast that we've got, anyone can win races, and it's the consistency that we're seeing of the likes of Richards and Hurlock being up there every race. That is how they're at the top of the championship. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, they're not going out there, they're not winning every race because, you know, that's near on impossible with the reverse grid and the ballast and things like that. You're not expected to go out there and win every race. But if you want to win a championship, doing what Matt Richards and Dan Hurlock are doing, to an extent also Thomas O'Leary, like, let's not disrespect him either. He's also got 3 wins and 7 podiums this season, and he is also having a stellar season. But those are sort of the standards you have to rise to, is being quick, race in, race out, no matter what position you start in for the reverse grid, no matter how much ballast you've got, no matter what tyre you happen to be on relative to everyone else, you have to find a way in order to find yourself at the very least inside the top 10. And then when it is your day, when you are starting well in the reverse grid race, when you haven't got a ton of ballast, when you are on the right tyre, is then the opportunity for you to go out there and get those podiums, to get those wins. And well, so far Matt Richards, Dan Hurlock have been the 2 that have really nailed that formula. Recently, Thomas O'Leary has also found the recipe and is now starting to craft his own way towards the top in the championship. But we have also had, you know, plenty of other people take to both the top step and on the podiums, top 5s and things like that. We've had such a competitive season.
Yeah, we certainly have, but it's been very tricky for the stewards, especially Aidan Millward leading the way over. There's been a lot of crashes, and unfortunately we have a big penalty list for this race. Tobias Blumshin, he's got a race ban as well. He won't be attending this evening. He's reached the 8-point limit for the licence points. We also had Haley, Churgwin, Garside, Morby and O'Leary, all of those drivers getting a 5-place grid penalty today, so they'll be dropping down after the qualifying session, which has just concluded in the background. Even Ryan Elliott and Jack London getting some time penalties in the previous round at Croft as well. And what that leaves is people like Garside, Butcher. They're on 6 out of the 8 points, so they're very close to getting a race ban. So we are starting to see, Zach, that some of the drivers getting slaps on the wrist from the stewards.
Yeah. which is fair enough. I'm sure Aidan Millward has had it sort of up to his neck in not some very nice things. We say it week in, week out. We always do have a little bit of sympathy for Aidan Millward because the stuff he has to deal with is fair enough. And I'm sure now, after this far into the season, you know, he's like, boys, you really should know better. There is a lot of avoidable things that can be going on. And yeah, now he's starting to sort of dish out the you know, what they, to be fair, deserve. I mean, it is harsh, but it is fair. And the only way to stop it happening and to sort of funnel out those small incidents, which, to be fair, we haven't had a ton of relative to how much we've had, you know, that's good, fun, respectful racing. We have had a few, obviously, mishaps and incidents, which kind of is to be expected, but, you know, still not exactly what we want to see. So Aidan Millward doing a fantastic job of just slowly but surely fizzling it out, making sure that the drivers that are at fault don't do it again, essentially. And yeah, it has made for quite extensive penalty lists, but then again, rules are rules.
Yeah, they certainly are. And as the drivers just get themselves onto the grid, we'll talk about the tyres there actually, because interesting for this round, normally the soft tyre is the option tyre. So you have to choose your option tyres for one race. So as drivers just come onto the formation lap. But now it's the other way around. So you have to be the medium for one race and the softs for two. But here is your grid. Dan Hurlock getting the pole position with Dan Kell alongside him, Callum Wilson and Jack London getting upside the top four. So Calamity Motorsports, 2 cars in the top 4. That is looking very nice for them. Callum Cripps is in 5th place with Ryan Elliott down there in 6th. Matt Richards, your championship leader, in 7th, and John Munro, podium winner so far this season, down there in 8th. Hartley and Cervic round out your top 10 with Ross McGregor and Thomas Vack inside your top 12. Remember, weight ballast for the championship standings in this race. Luke Mitchell, Adam Christopher inside your top 14. Leppit and Ben Willis rounding out your top 16. Ben Willis actually changing livery, maybe changing teams for today's race. Thomas O'Leary down in 17th place. He'll be disappointed with that. Churgwin in 18th. Phil Morby 19th. And Adam Locke there in 20th place, I should say. Jack Nichols in 21st, Cam Brewster in 22nd, Phil Garside 23rd, and Scott Morris in 24th place. And I believe we have one more driver, 25 cars on the grid. Yes, Anthony Hamilton rounding up the field. It's going to be short laps around here. We're looking at about 48 seconds for the pole position, maybe near about 50 seconds in race trim. 24 laps coming your way. Zach, what are your final thoughts of what's going to happen?
Oh, again, you can't really know. All you can expect is carnage, chaos, and a lot of fun along the way. 24 laps of racing action, and, well, we've got Hurlock, Kell at the front row, and then obviously Richards with a little bit of a fight back to climb his way back towards the front relative to Hurlock and co. Hopefully Dan Kell doesn't get played by wheel issues again for another week. But yeah, hopefully plenty of fun along the way because, well, what else do we expect from Knockhill?
And look at the grid. It's absolute carnage at this track. Everyone is so close together. It's a lot closer than the normal tracks. And we've sort of got this slightly staggered grid as well. Cars all over the place. 24 laps coming your way with just 4 rounds to go this season. Who is going to come out on top? First race of the evening. Your second place driver in the championship, Dan Hurlock, is on that pole position. And he gets underway. Side-by-side start, though, with Dan Kell as we come down towards Duffer's Dip for the first time. Can the RSR driver hold on? Door banging coming in towards the braking zone as Kell tries to go around the outside, manages to hold on to that second place. Wilson holds on to third. 4 wide as we come through the second turn there. Coming in towards McIntyre's. It looks like everyone's getting through quite cleanly, at least at the start. But now up towards the chicane. Who's going to be making any big moves? Side by side, that is going to be, I think that's John Munro trying to make a move.
Yeah, a couple of people trying to search for the gap. You can see Dan Hurlock forced to go defensive versus Dan Kell. Anthony Hilton towards the back end of the field as well, trying to pick his way through the carnage, through the right-hander here, and gets given the space, to be fair, but not really too eager for going for the move. Here we go, side by side for the lead. Kell on the outside in his forward focus. Bit of a lock-up from Hurlock on the inside to round off the first lap. Bit of a slide on the exit as well for good measure. Kell with the outside line. He is going to lead the first lap.
All the way round the outside. Dan Kell loving that one, going towards the front. Pole position driver last time out at Croft as we're side by side up the hill. Remember, hybrid in these cars as well. They'll be using it on the 2 straights that we have here on the railway straight and the front straight away. So pretty much everyone using it at the same time. It just depends exactly how early you can go on the button and how much you can use that battery over the race, as you will deplete it, because there aren't too many braking zones to regen at this track. So watch out for that one a little bit later on in the race. As moves in the background there. That was Matt Richards going wide. Munro gets up into 7th place. Richards off again. He's dropping all the way down. Championship leader, he's having some problems.
He is, especially on a day where Dan Hurlock is looking very, very quick. Matt Richards, there he is, finally able to get himself back going again, but a huge issue. It's going to be difficult for him to claw his way back after this.
Certainly will. Updated livery, it looks like, for the Richardson Co drivers there. We've got the pink and the orange coming up as well to try and differentiate those drivers a little bit more. Jack London here, we're seeing, has dropped down to 6th place, so he's dropped 2 positions already. Elliott and Cripps getting past on that absolute carnage. 3-4 wide coming into this corner on that first lap, but certainly a strong race from him so far. So Kell leads away from Hurlock, Wilson Cripps in behind before we see Ryan Elliott there. He's been a driver up towards the front quite a few times this season, Zach, but can he finally string around together? As off in the background, Ross McGregor all over the gravel.
Yeah, a couple of people not really having the best of times. Let's take another look as to what happened to Matt Richards, and he fully got air there. That actually itself wasn't an inch slowdown, maybe?
I wonder if there's more been an issue. Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that there's been an issue. He did hit that curb pretty hard. We have seen, situations where monitors have fallen off people's rigs, hitting the curbs that bumps that hard with the force feedback. I wonder if it's something to that. We'll have to try and speak to him a little bit later on, see what's happened with that, because your championship leader might be losing a lot of points in this race. If Hurlock can finish up in that 2nd place, that is going to be a big, big swing in the championship.
Yeah, huge swing. I mean, as it stands, that's going to be a ton of points, which is not good, especially when sort of Hurlock has been on the fight back sort of since the last few rounds. I mean, he missed Snetterton, obviously, but the gap at the moment is only 31 points. There's even more issues there for Matt Richards. Salt in the wound. Yeah,
he's either got into the pits to sort out some issues, or he's got a drive-through penalty, something like that. The number 1 reigning champion going for 2 in a row, but not able to do so this time around for 2nd place. So Hurlock is under pressure. Of course, he's got a lot more ballast in that car coming into this round, qualifying and the first race. Your ballast is the top 10 drivers in the standings get that ballast. 75 kilos for first place, all the way down to 9 kilos incrementally for 10th place. Sending it over there for Callum Wilson. So Hurlock is going to be hurting a little bit more, and that's why people like Dan Kell, it's sort of helped him actually that he's missed a few races in this standings, because he's got less ballast for these races.
Yeah, and it's definitely not hurting him at all. Also, first place gets 20 points, and the point system only goes down to 15th, of which Matt Richards is not in. So that's going to be some huge gains from Hurlock this race alone. And also there, side by side in the background, trying to make some places up. I think Cripps versus Elliott on that run in towards turn of 1. Also, got our 2-time winner of Croft here, Thomas O'Leary, trying to find his way past Willis inside the top 10, but he's got then to get past the 85 machine and then to find his way past Thomas Vack as well, if he wants to get himself inside the top 10, down through the hill, and immediately cutting away back towards the front action, because Ryan Elliott putting some insane pressure on Cripps while also receiving a ton of pressure from behind.
Yeah, this isn't the easiest track to directly overtake, because the main overtaking opportunity, of course, is into the hairpin, which is really just once a lap. But what the track is for, especially if you're watching the real-life BTCC race a few weeks ago, especially that 2nd race, what you saw Sutton doing to Jake Hill, just putting all the pressure on the driver, trying to force them to make a mistake. All the corners around this track are difficult. None of them are easy at all, especially that chicane where you've got to get the curbs absolutely correct. That final hairpin as well has massive elevation change. You've got to get the racing line correct. This first corner, Duffer's Dip as well, we've got to choose how much you want to send it over the curbs. It's such a tricky track for that. That really, the pressure is what's going to force your overtake here.
It really is, because it's kill or be killed, hunt or be hunted, swim or sink essentially for a lot of these drivers, because that is the pressure of the pack racing, and that is a huge slide in the background from John Munro. His car control has been getting a ton of practice. I remember all the way back at Thruxton where he spent half of the day sideways, and that's really taught him some valuable lessons. Ryan Elliott now trying to go to the outside of Cripps, going into the final braking zone, bit of a lock up as he tries to go extremely wide, cut in for a late apex. Be careful, of course, of London in behind, as to not lose the place, because that's the danger that sometimes happens when you're trying to set up a move. Going all the way to the right hand side to defend is Cripps. Elliott follows him, now goes to the outside, not really finding a way through on this particular occasion, and this is a very lovely hard fought fight.
Oh, was there contact there? I think there might have been in the braking zone. Elliott just catching the back there of Cripps, who gets absolutely sent into the barrier at McIntyre's. That was, I definitely want to see that one again of how close, because the contact seemed more, oh sorry, the outcome seemed more than the contact that we saw. Cripps there just recovering, down in 16th place at this moment in time. He's got Garside all over the back fin. That leaves this battle up towards 4th place. Ryan Elliott leads it now, with London in behind and Munro just following as well. But that was certainly, a very tight moment, and once again sliding on the exit.
Yeah, huge slides, trying to keep the power delivery to a minimum, trying to reduce the wheel slip side by side as well, just ahead. I think Elliott trying to make some moves, and we've got Dan Hurlock trying to make some moves on Wilson in this fight for second. Dan Kellers absolutely ran off in the distance, but Wilson and that 444 machine has, well, been trying to take some points away from Hurlock as he finds his way up in a second place. I don't know what it is with Hurlock. He had a good initial start, but in the race seems to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, my only thinking is that really it is just the ballast that's not helping him so much, but with the gap that because of the battle that was in behind, the gap they've got now to 4th place, it looks really good. So if Hurlock can hold on to that 3-second battle, that is going to be a good one for him. Here's Anthony Hamilton. He's got up into 20th place from the back of the grid, but that's because we've had Jack Nichols, Scott Morris, DNF from the race. I think Garside is potentially DNF from this race as well. Matt Richards is laps down. So this is, it's giving some free positions at least to Hilton. But of course the battles continue a little bit further back. Here's Ben Willis in 11th place. He's doing really well for Control Esports coming towards turn number 1. He's had a solid season, but he hasn't had too many specific standout results. Let's see if he can do that today at Knockhill. Absolutely sending it over the curbs there, down through Duffer's Dip, trying to work his way up behind Adam Christopher just ahead.
Yeah, well, battles up and down, and also for sort of important places as well, but they're losing that time to Christopher the more they battle amongst themselves, as Willis is having a really fun fight there with Thomas O'Leary battling his way through, ducking, diving, searching for gaps. Hurlock though still in the slipstream of Wilson, maybe a bit pushed to pass into the mix as well, could definitely not go amiss for the man second place in the championship, trying to maximise here in Knockhill, because any point will count in trying to reduce that 31-point deficit to Richards in the championship lead. London trying to move his way up into 4th place as well, ahead of Ryan Elliott, all before the halfway point of this first race.
As it stands, Hurlock in 3rd place. 3rd place is 15 points. Richards isn't going to be getting any points. Go down to the top 15 in this category. Oh, that is a huge wiggle there for Elliott. Got to be keeping it on the track. But yeah, for Richards, losing 15 points, that's almost halving his gap in just one race. Of course, he'll have to come back through from that starting position. Race 2 starts from the result of this race. So he's going to be starting from the back again. Of course, no ballast that time around, but still, that's going to be a difficult one for him, as we're seeing Elliott hold on to this 4th place, but he's making it a little bit hard for himself, trying to hold on to Jack London in behind. He's certainly pushing the limits as we're halfway through this first race. Yeah.
And still plenty more action to unpack. Of course, we've got race 2 and 3 to come. Race 3, of course, decided from a random reverse grid wheel from anywhere between the top 6 to the top 12 being reversed, which always adds a little bit of a fun to the mix. And oh my goodness me, was that Ryan Elliott going sideways? I think it might well have been. Yes, it is. We just about cut away probably I suppose the worst time for us, the right time for Ryan Elliott, but we cut back immediately to see him doing some lawnmower and joining the track nearly into the path of one of the battling cars. And oh my goodness me, that was a very scary moment for Elliott, and well, sees him outside the top 10, outside the points as well.
I think that was Phil Morby, but of course he didn't come onto the racing line, but Morby was making an overtake himself over the, actually, yeah, it wasn't really the chicane. He just got onto the gravel a little bit too wide, unfortunately. Gets it in reverse, tries to spin it around, but those front tyres had no grip to spin it. And this rejoin is going to be, I'm pretty sure it was Morby in the Ford. Yes, it's going to be just having to avoid him, making an overtake on Ben Willis potentially up the inside there into Clark. So certainly not ideal for the RSR driver.
Absolutely not. And an easy mistake to make, obviously, over the crest at that chicane. And I was already disabled. Go on.
I think we've had a server issue here. Oh, that is a shame. We were just building up for an awesome second half of this first race this evening, but it seems we've had maybe a mass disconnection or something like that. Something has gone on. We only have 4 drivers on the track. Yeah, so I don't think everyone crashed during that replay. So my assumption is going to be they've had some sort of issue. So this is probably going to lead to a red flag. which, Zach, is such a shame because that was building up for some really nice battles, especially up towards the front of the top 10 there.
Yeah, imagine if this is legit. I don't think it would be. If it is, I was about to say I'll put a lottery ticket on, but I'm not even old enough to do that. But, you know, in that sort of vein, there's a lot of things you could do. I think there has been a mass disconnect. Happy days if it's not red flag, because the top 4 would be loving life. But I doubt that's going to be the case. We'll keep you updated, of course, with the proceedings of things and how things are going to be happening. But, yeah, we were in for a really good race, and fingers crossed it can get sorted for the remainder of the evening, because I don't want to get robbed of Knockhill.
Yeah, definitely not. It's a great track to have on the calendar, and obviously the drivers will continue remaining for now. Obviously, one of the main points is some of the organisers of the league is Richards and Willis, and then of course Aidan Millward as well. But obviously Richards and Willis driving in the race, so sometimes there might just be a slight delay in terms of, well, they're not this time round. But I'm just trying to have a look through the rule to see exactly if there are any rules on this, and it does look like that it potentially won't be restarted unless it was in the first 2 laps of the race, although that is under race director's discretion. But of course, these things will need to be worked out, so I'm not going to say anything in black and white, but it's certainly not the way that we would have wanted to see. But for the action that is on the track, it is Callum Wilson leading the way from Jack London. Those two are actually having a very solid race, especially Jack London. I'm impressed with him so far. He's been having I don't think he's done all of the races so far. Yeah, he's sitting down in 16th place in the championship. He's only got 10 points out of a race so far. So to suddenly jump up this high looks pretty good for him.
Yeah, he's had a massive improvement. As we cut away, I think there has been a decision made. Of course, again, we'll update you if/when we find out. But yeah, well, that'd have been a huge result. Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite going to be able to end in the way that he particularly would have liked, or materialize itself into a way that he particularly would have liked either. But again, there's a lot of positives to take from that race, I think, Cam, because despite the way it ended and despite the issues, the first half of it was absolutely mega. And again, just proving everything we expected about coming into Knockhill.
Yes. Not an easy track, to be honest, and it's almost one of those Monaco style races on the F1 calendar. As such, is the tight and twisty, the track that's almost too small, even for BTCC cars, which of course they're nowhere near the level caliber of a Formula 1 car or a GT3 car, etc. But for when you put those cars and their speed on a track like Knockhill, they almost feel too big, which is quite funny. But it's cool that we still, after all these years, still come back to this track, because I think it's a really important mark actually on the calendar, not only being up in Scotland, which I think is a big market to get into, at least from the real life side of things, but also just the fact of having a difficult track like this is an extra challenge for the drivers.
It is, because the margin for error is so slim. If you mess up here, you're going to know about it very, very quickly. I do love that waving inflatable thing in the background of that first shot as well. He's just having a lovely time. I think he's the only one out there smiling, because there's no cars on track, so there's no reason to smile really. But he's just there waving in the wind, having a lovely time. But yeah. It's such a punishing track. The undulation, the blind crests, the corners here. It's a lot of fun when you nail it, not so much when you don't. Very obviously so. And it's track, grass, gravel, wall, and that is essentially the stages. Those are the 4 stages of grief. You realise you made the mistake on track, you go to the grass, you brace yourself on the gravel, and then your race is over when you hit the wall. So yeah, plenty of action zones, danger zones, but still the standard of driving here proved that it doesn't matter, because the cars fit and it's a raceable track.
It certainly is, and I think it's quite difficult. Obviously is in a good way in some ways. It's actually quite difficult, obviously, to work the overtake. So therefore, you actually have to have a bit of racecraft. It's not one of these tracks where it's got a long straight. You can just sit there in the slipstream or some of that, make a dive down the inside. It's certainly going to, be an interesting one. But we are going to be moving on to race 2 fairly shortly. So let's take a bit of a break and we'll come back. Unfortunately, that is the conclusion of race 1 here at Knockhill. And welcome back to the Scottish Highlands. We are just sorting out the server for race number 2, which should be getting underway, but just a couple of technical checks just to make sure that everything is going fine. But race 2 is still going to be at least attempt to get underway, and we'll be trying to get there in just a few moments. We'll be back very shortly. And the Highlands are alive with the sound of race cars. Danko is on pole position with Callum Wilson in second place. Herlock and Elliott round out the second row of the grid for this second race of the evening here at Knockhill. Jack London in fifth place, John Munro in sixth, Ross McGregor in seventh, and Luke Mitchell getting that eighth place. Of course, the grid being taken from the lap before the red flag in the race one we just had. Thomas Vack is in ninth, Adam Christopher 10th, Thomas O'Leary 11th, and Ben Wilson down in 12th place. So certainly Elliott there getting a bit lucky with it going the lap before that he crashed. Phil Morby in 13th, Hartley in 14th place, Scott Cervic in 15th, and Callum Cripps, who unfortunately after battling up towards that second place had to spin, he's in 16th place. Chegwin in 17th, Brewster, Leppit and Anthony Hilton round out your top 20. And unfortunately, a couple of drivers have not continued racing this evening, so just got 23. It's Adam Locke, Matt Richards with it all to do, and Scott Morris in 23rd place. So, Zach, a lot of things for the drivers to consider now coming into this second race, and a short race one. Matt Richards now down the back. Ryan Elliott learning that he needs to keep the car on track. Loads of things happening as all. I think that's Callum Wilson taking out a pit board.
That was something. Let's put it that way. Right, okay, that is starting the second race off in a very interesting manner, and we're not even at the lights yet, but looking forward to this because, you know, the hype that we had at the end of race one is definitely sort of showing what could be here for race two. 24 laps back onto the clock, and, well, Dan Kell, Callum Wilson, the front row.
So this is, of course, still race number 2, so race 1, the results will have to be sorted out, but we have used basically the best results that we had from the previous race to get a accurate grid for race number 2. Ballast, of course, for the top 10 drivers in this order as Dan Kell takes away from pole position. It's a good start there from that third place, and it looks like RSR drivers might be getting down the inside of Wilson towards turn number 1. Kell is going to lead the way. Around the outside is going to be with Herlock and Ryan Elliott trying to get up into that third place. Wilson losing a couple of places already. John Munro's got past him as well. In towards McIntyre's, we saw a bit of a crash here last time around. John Munro up into 4th place. Cars have gone around. Phil Morby's dropping down, and Christopher as well. It's a side by side. Luke Mitchell up through the chicane. He's trying to go around the outside of O'Leary. Oh no, he hasn't, because O'Leary's been sent into the wall.
He has been indeed, and rejoins the circuit into the path of another car as well for good measure. That is not what we like to see at all, but so far so good for Dan Kell at the front of the field, side by side as well between the two Rocket Sim Sport cars of Munro and McGregor. They battle their way for 4th place. McGregor finds himself ahead of his teammate as Callum Wilson chucks the car to the inside of Jack London, forced to the extremities of the circuit. There was the Ford Focus, as now the slow run in the background forces Thomas Vack to maybe get himself into the mix. They battle their way towards turn number 1, but so far so good for our pole sitter.
Yeah, the Rocket drivers enjoying themselves up inside that top 5. Wilson dropping down all those places. He is not going to be enjoying that one. Is that O'Leary trying to get back through up towards the back of the field? I think he might have lost his rear wing actually, so that's going to really hinder his rear stability in this race. As of course, 24 laps, short laps. Oh, is that Dan Kell from the lead of the race dropping down? Maybe Herlock dropping through. Oh no, he's gone into the wall, and so has the number 87 machine there of Herlock. That is your championship, basically leader or contender, I should say, after that first race. But now he's going to be going to the back of the field. Huge changes at the front.
Yeah, this is a huge round for Herlock, or what could have been a huge round. Matt Richards has found himself up into 8th place as well. So how quickly have the tides turned for those two? Matt Richards, after an appalling start in race 1, dropping his way all the way back. We're going to take a look as to what happened though, and it's Dan Kell that gets out of shape. There's a little bit of rallycross for a moment. I think it's just going to snap right into the path. And unfortunately, Herlock, what can he do there? Because there's no way of predicting what Dan Kell's car is going to do.
That's so unfortunate for Herlock. I feel really bad for him there. Kell, he really didn't have control of that car, but certainly a difficult one indeed. And that could potentially be another swing in the championship. Matt Richards from the back, already up into 8th place. What a move this could be. Round the outside, 3 wide is going to be down the railway straight, potentially, as they work their way into a single file formation in towards the braking zone. There's Ben Willis in 6th place, but it's going to be Richards coming up into 7th place. Up the inside, he sends it of Louis Hartley. He might even be able to get Willis down into turn 1 too.
Yeah, this is exactly what Matt Richard does best, is that even on a bad day, he makes it into, one of his best drives possible. Of course, he's probably not going to be getting any podiums or things like that in this race, but he's definitely going to be securing himself in a decent place inside the top 10. And, well, it can range anywhere from the top 6 to the top 12 for that reverse grid for race 3. Let's not forget. So Matt Richards really putting himself into a very, very good position, working his way forward slowly but surely. And I'd say a top 5 is very doable in this race, considering from where he started at the beginning.
So as things have shaked out already after 4 laps, McGregor leads from Monroe. Great start from the Rocket Simsport drivers. London is in that 3rd place as he's got Wilson and Vac in behind. They're trying to battle, actually, coming in towards the final corner. Vac there drops down a place. Wilson gets back up into 4th after having, some very interesting excursions on this first lap as 20 laps remain, but they so do go very fast around here. Ben Willis in behind him with Matt Richards, your championship leader, now up into 7th place, gaining so many points on Dan Herlock, who's now down in 19th.
Yeah, that is that could be the turning point of the championship. And Thomas O'Leary has had contact and he's sent spearing off. He's without a rear wing, smashes into the quick fit barrier, and he's going to be hoping that he can quick fit a rear wing. Unfortunately, that's not quite going to be the case, and he is very well and truly out of contention in this race. Back to the front, and Ben Willis is seeing just ahead of him and looking backwards on the battle between what could be Richards and Hartley battling over 7th place. You can see Louis Hartley on the counter-attack relative to the championship leader, finds himself on the left-hand side of your screen, the right-hand side of the circuit, and the inside for the final hairpin. And the BMW of Richards tries to go the long way around, but he's not quite able to keep his foot in and is forced to be on the back foot. Hartley giving him a good run for his money.
Yes, that Matt Richards being overtaken this season, that's not something that we've seen too many times, actually. He's not doing the overtaking. He's generally moving forward in the races or leading from the front. What a move there by Louis Hartley, having a very strong round here so far at Knockhill. Definitely not an easy track, and look at the absolute send onto 2 wheels. That is way too much. Richards will be getting back up the inside. Bit of a rejoin there, but Hartley managed to come back in just behind the Richards and co driver. But Hartley certainly pushing, just showing how difficult this track is.
Yeah, thankfully he's only lost 1 place and back down to 8th. So, well, he's now going to have to overtake the overtaker all over again, while also locked in this very extensive train. I mean, also towards the front, McGregor and Monroe trying to extend the gap back to Jack London as best they possibly can, work together as teammates as best they possibly can, and secure a good result. But just look at this fight. All behind, I think, Callum Wilson is the one leading this train up in 4th place. Thomas Vac trying to mount an attack. Then it's Willis, Richards, Hartley and Cripps all battling in behind. And then we've also got another bit of a battle here as well. Adam Locke sandwiched in between of Brewster and Phil Morby as well. Wherever you look, Cam, there's at least 2 cars very close for position.
As Richards trying to get his way even further around the outside of Ben Willis. That's not something we'll often see. Hartley in the background is going off 2 laps in a row. He's off into the gravel. He's going to be losing about 3 places, including his teammate that time around, with Leppit getting up. Actually, huge send up the inside there. It's going to be as well, as Cervic's going to be bumped out of the way. That was from way far back. Wasn't expecting that one. But Cervic needs to try and come back round the outside of Duffus. Dip is going to be, but he's not close enough as Leppit completes the move.
Yeah, not quite able to, but riding on board with Thomas Vac, looking to the inside of 3, thinking about it, but Wilson covers it off quite nicely. A good run here from Vac, though, sees him go to the inside, but the outside as they rise their way up the hill through the chicane and forces Wilson into submission. Thomas Vac finds himself up in a 4th place now, and also look there, because Matt Richards is trying to pick his way into the battle as well. Thomas Vac with a sensational move up to 4th.
Yeah, Rich is getting a nice easy overtake from his teammate Wilson. Definitely Wilson not. I doubt he would have been full throttle there coming out of the chicane. So Rich is up into 5th place and 6th goes down. Wilson side by side once again in towards the braking zone. Is going to be at the hairpin, and once again is going to be Cervic losing out a position as Hartley there for TR Powered by Geeks getting up the inside, and once again is the Ballast car losing out on the straight. So 2 laps in a row, and it's deja vu for Scott Cervic unless he can do anything in towards turn 1. No, he can't. Onto 2 wheels there from Hartley. He's obviously not got the suspension completely tuned on that car, because it's happening very often, but he managed to save it.
Yeah, fair play. Again, we all make mistakes, but how do you recover from them? And just it's insane looking at them jumping over that chicane. The fact that they're just pointing the car where they want it to go and hoping is there's a nice send there to the inside. Louis Hartley demoted to 11th as Scott Sovic finds himself inside the top 10. We're seeing some absolute belters of moves here at Knockhill.
Yeah, loving this. I was doing some laps myself, just offline to just have a look around this track. And that corner, Clark coming onto the railway straight, it looks like a proper corner, but it's actually more of a kink. And that's why you see Cervic there absolutely sending it up the inside as Wilson moves over once again for a teammate. This time Cripps gets up in that orange variant of the Richardson Co. Racing team, of course leading the championship in the team standings as well, and Wilson playing the team game there, giving the points to his teammates. Richards up into 5th now, and he's trying to get back as they work their way through Clark, and that's the corner I was talking about. It's a bit more of a kink really. Some drivers probably over brake into that corner. It's actually quite fast onto this back straight in towards the final hairpin. Bit of boost there being used by Richards. Just saw the sort of extra speed advantage that he got, but not enough to make the overtake.
No, not quite. And well, definitely showing Richard's intentions as here's Phil Morby fighting away with Herlock, who is on a recovery drive. He's going to be hoping to get himself ahead of Brewster and going to be hoping that the wheel is in his favour in order to recover something from this evening. I mean, it was a good race 1, but race 2 has definitely been something he's going to be forgetting very, very quickly. Phil Morby, of course, again, how do you battle your way in this situation? Because obviously the more they fight over 13th, yes, they're going to be getting 1 or 2 extra points, but they're also going to be putting themselves out of contention for anything more, as there is Herlock jumping his way over the curbs, finding any gap that he possibly can inside on the run for Cam Brewster. Herlock finds his way up into 12th place, and well, brilliant battling going on in the background, and it's pack racing, because as soon as Brewster lost that momentum, straight away Morby smelt blood, and well, he battled the vulnerable.
And Matt Richards has been battling with the RSR driver all season. It's been Elliott, it's been Herlock, and now it looks like to be Thomas Vack. Although there's absolute scenes coming out of the final chicane. There's about 6 cars trying to work their way forward. Is that O'Leary still trying to work his way through with no rear wing? Side by side through Duffer's Dip. Now around the outside of McIntyre's. It's going to be for your championship leader onto the gravel, though that's going to lose momentum as Vack holds on in towards the chicane. Matt Richards is having the race of his life from the back of the grid, remember. Of course, no ballast therefore compared to these drivers around him. That's why he's so much quicker, but he's also using his natural speed he's had this season to try and get through up towards the podium. He's got a big gap up ahead of him, but certainly a huge send coming his way. Huge send, and well, Brewster on the back foot. How is he going to be able to fight back? Is it going to be with big sends? He definitely goes for one straight away to the inside of the hairpin, not wetting around, not wasting any time into the second half of this race. Here comes Matt Richards as well on Thomas Vack. Looks to the left-hand side, going through turn number 1, but that definitely isn't going to happen. He's trying to go for the up and under. The outside through 2 gives him the inside for 3. Beautiful move from the championship leader. Thomas Vack not really got much of an answer for it. Matt Richards, beautiful. That was lovely to get himself up towards 4th place, just showing you the class that he has got, and certainly why he is the championship leader. His rival Herlock's got himself back up into 12th place, and there might be some more moves there. As the RSR car driver jumping up the inside of Hartley in towards Clark, and as we come around the outside, it's going to be of the Kings of the railway straight. Up the inside, can he finally complete the move in towards the braking zone? Is going to be for Herlock, your 2nd place driver in the championship. There he goes up towards P11, so definitely coming back nicely, but a few more places it will be in the final 10 laps of this race here at Knockhill. 2nd race of the evenings now. Phil Morby up the inside towards Duffer's Dip for the first time. He's got the Quartermass car on his outside of Adam Logg, who manages to hold on in the braking zone. Yeah, forward now, but Phil Morby is going to be relentless. He's going to try his best, and that's a poor line from Logg, and well, Morby is going to be, again, looking to find any exploitation in order to find his way past, whether that's better lines and, well, liberties in terms of the track limits, just chucking his way over the sausage curbs there through the chicane. Now through the right-hander again, all very important in order to get a good run through the not so straight on that run in towards the final hairpin, but he's not really got much, and he's going to be hoping that he can go for the move potentially into turn number 1. Also very, very close. A little bit further up, you can see Dan Herlock trying to get himself back inside the top 10, just ahead of Johannes Leppert. Is he going to be able to get the move into turn number 1? Also just ahead of the 2 of them. Also, we've got a couple of drivers fighting over more positions. Callum Wilson versus Scott Sovic in the battle for 8th. Just, well, more and more is Herlock with a huge send to the inside of 3. A little bit of contact, but he's gotten away with it, but Sovic hasn't. Oh, serve it. I wonder if there was some contact there with Wilson. There was definitely contact with Herlock as well. So a few things to unravel there from that couple of corners as Adam Locke just holding on to Phil Morby, going around the outside himself as the battle for the podium also heats up as we come towards 8 laps to go in this race. McGregor still leading from Munro. We haven't seen these drivers for a while, but they're in a heated battle with now Jack London up behind them, coming towards a Duffer's Dip. This is working out really nicely for Rocket if they can hold on to a 1-2, but the Ford driver, Calamity driver, trying to stop that. Let's see the replay though of what happened to Servit coming down the dip. He's leading the way in towards McIntyre's. There's a huge gap behind him, so there's no contact. It's all on his own. Actually, a bit of contact secondary there for Wilson, but Servit had already lost it on that exit curb as now Jack London comes for second place.
Yeah, John Munro trying to defend and assist his teammate in this fight for the lead. 3 cars only separated by about a second going into the final third of this race. Jack London putting a ton of pressure on Ryan Elliott, setting the fastest lap time of anyone of 49.4. Outside line for London though, that's going to be the long way round. Little bit of camber on the circuit in order to assist him, but it's too long of a way round and Munro is able to hold station. However, could we see a move from the Calamity Motorsport driver going into turn number 1? Has he got the legs on the straight and the bravery on the brakes? I think the answer to that question is going to be a very hard no. Look at that BMW in the background. Matt Richards. Oh, I don't know. He's a little bit scary. If I was the top 3, I'd be a bit scared.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as well. Richards is closing up pretty quickly here, to be fair. On the last lap as well, was 1.5 seconds quicker than John Munro, of course fighting, but still absolute speed advantage for the BMW driver. It's currently sitting in 4th place, 1 second off this battle. Let's see if he can get himself onto the podium with just a handful or just over a handful of laps to go in this race. Should still be enough time for him to do so. London not having an attempt this time around for that second place, as Richards is now within that second. He's closing in 10th by 10th and getting even closer, potentially getting up into second place from 22nd on the grid. And his championship rival Dan Herlock is now up into 9th. Oh, huge slide there from London as he tries to close in.
Yeah, he's pushing very, very hard. That goes without saying, but the gap between the top 4 is very close. I mean, to be fair to McGregor, he's been able to open the gap up a little bit now, 1.5 seconds, which is going to be a huge bit of breathing room for him, especially at this stage in the race, and especially if his teammate Munro continues to battle hard with the likes of London and Richards. But not long left to go in this race. Time is definitely a luxury.
Yeah, it's he's got long enough to get past these drivers, and to be honest, are they closing on McGregor potentially at the front, as Scenes in behind as well, lower parts of the top 10. Here comes Herlock trying to make a move, but also Thomas O'Leary with no rear wing on the car. He's spun out a few times, but he's still up into 10th place, just showing you why his resurgence in this second half of the season is putting him up into 3rd place in the championship, as the flashing of the headlights there as Herlock makes his way past Wilson. Wilson's been dropping back so just like an absolute stone here in this race, and look at the train of drivers coming for him too. Yeah,
they're all queuing up, waiting for their chance, and I have to say, fair play to Thomas O'Leary. Like, that is an astonishing effort. Like, and just goes to show to never give up no matter what goes your way. Matt Richards as well is another prime example of that. A poor race 1 has now seen himself maybe claim a podium here in race 2. Inside line on Jack London, who doesn't really put up much of a fight as he jumps his way over the grass. Matt Richards picks the inside. He finds his way up to 3rd as Jack London struggling on this lap, and maybe run out of steam potentially, and just Matt Richards getting his way past is the nail in the coffin.
Potentially, but 4th place would still be very good for him, as Morby there just trying to get the nudge from Hartley as we come up this front straight, trying to make it stick as O'Leary, I should say, gets through there with Wilson. Flashing his lights once again, 2 straights in a row. He's not happy with how his race is going. Normally, flashing of headlights is not a positive reaction to a driver around you. So let's see how that one goes for Wilson, as he's getting very close to dropping outside the top 10. The 2 Geeks Energy drivers just in behind, with Morby getting close once more. This is an insane train that we're seeing, from Herlock in 8th down to Mitchell in 15th.
Huge train, all aboard sort of the Wilson Express, and well, we've only got a few minutes left of race number 2. Phil Morby getting ever close to the back of Louis Hartley going through the final corner. Not really much contact. Well, there was no contact, but definitely could have been some. And just going to show the level of competition we've got in this championship, and so many drivers so incredibly close. And at these sort of positions in the field cam, Each position, you could double your points all just from 1 or 2 extra places.
That is, that's very true, especially if it's that sort of 15th place or so. Just getting one position will literally double your points. Is a very interesting sort of points structure, and just showing you how every point matters, and that is why these positions are being fought for so heavily, as we have just a couple of laps to go, 3 laps to go. They are just starting. McGregor, he's got a bit of a gap at the front, but it's Matt Richards who's chasing him down. I wonder if Munro's going to try and hold him up as such, pretty much just to help his teammate. In towards McIntyre as we go. Richards almost pushing the Rocket Simsport driver. These guys have been fighting at multiple races throughout the season. Unfortunately, Munro not able to keep a championship challenge, but it is Richards, though, this time, this race at Knockhill, who's absolutely sending it through Clark onto this back straight, using every bit of the track available, and too much there for Richards. He gets a bad run, but can he recover into hairpin? No, he's going to be too far back.
Yep, Munro driving a really good race. Same too, to be fair, for McGregor. I'd say he's not got enough time. Even if he got through on Munro going into turn number 1, there is no way in a lap and a bit that he's going to be able to close a 2-second gap up to McGregor. So I'd have to say that ship has sailed for Matt Richards, but still a podium is a sensational result, as Luke Mitchell has a front row seat to the fight between Morby and Christopher. Morby able to find his way ahead and up into 13th place, and a huge bit of dust being kicked up in Luke Mitchell's face, which I'm sure he's not going to be too grateful for.
Yeah, fortunately we do have window wipers on this car, on these cars, and there was a threat of rain, but it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any this evening. That would have been the prime Scottish weather, as we do have the live weather, I believe, in this series. But Aidan Millward's just calming everyone's tensions before the race, saying how it doesn't look like the forecast is showing. But for second place round the outside, it's going to be for Matt Richards. No, he goes too deep, and Munro holds on. But was that an attempt at least, as we come onto the final lap of the race? One more hairpin to go, but is Richards going to need it, or can he find a way through in this middle sector?
It's going to be difficult. He's got 1 lap and not many opportunities. It might take a mistake from John Munro, or just an absolute send from Matt Richards in order to find himself past. It's been an amazing race too, and we've still got race 3 yet to come. Through the right, up the hill, over the crest. Have we got a bit of lap traffic to contend with, or is it... No, that's just Ross McGregor. I'm just seeing things. Actually, there's someone in the distance, but it won't pose a threat at all. Matt Richards, though, running out of time to get himself into second place.
1 corner to go. Better exit that time. All of the push to pass will be used for both drivers. Anything they've got left in that battery. Munro goes to the inside for the final braking zone. McGregor is going to win the race, but who's going to be second? A bit of contact between the two. Munro runs him out wide, up towards the line though. Who's got the horsepower up the hill? Is it going to be Munro? I think it just is. So Matt Richards will take 3rd place. Good attempt from him from 22nd, putting on a show for us. Jack London absolutely charging his way to 4th place as well, and I believe his best finish of the season. That is awesome to see, with RSR's Thomas Vack finishing in 5th place. Ben Willis, top result for him, in 6th place. Cripps will get 7th. Herlock, after that contact that dropped him down, unfortunately losing points to Matt Richards, despite him starting on the 2nd row and Richards from the back. And of course, we have to look all the way down as well to multiple drivers like Dan Kell. He had a difficult race. So difficult. Loads of things happening there, Zach. A lot to digest in that race. But here is your results. McGregor taking victory. John Munro in 2nd place, and Matt Richards rounding out your podium. Jack London, Thomas Vack in behind with Ben Willis, and then Callum Cripps and Dan Herlock inside your top 8. Thomas O'Leary got 9th with no rear wing and being in the wall at least twice. Callum Wilson is your final driver on that first page, but he was just dropping back over the course of this race. Louis Hartley, he had some nice battles, got up into 11th place. Phil Morby, Adam Christopher and Johannes Leppit there inside your top 14. They were all having a big battle as well. Luke Mitchell just sitting in behind. Cam Brewster in 16th place. Matt Cherwin in 17th. Scott Cervic in 18th. Unfortunately, after that spin on his own volition out of McIntyre's. Then Adam Locke and Ryan Elliott, who once again just falls short of his potential in this series. Hopefully he'll be up the top once again. Dan Kell mistake from pole position. He should have been there up on the podium at the end, but unfortunately gave it away. Huge contact with Herlock as well. He might be in the steward's room for that one. Anthony Hilton and Scott Morris round out your field for the second grid of the day. But of course, we have the spinny wheel for the third race. Let's see what is going to be the reverse grid for the third race. It's going to be position 8. So that's Dan Herlock. Oh, wow. He got lucky with that one. Dan Herlock will be taken away from pole position in that final race. He's going to have not much ballast either in that car. He is going to be looking strong, but we'll just let the drivers have a bit of a break, have a couple of minutes, and then we'll set the grid and we'll go racing once again here at Knockhill for the third race of the evening. Welcome back to Knockhill for the final race of the evening here for TCUK 2023 round number 7. It's been certainly an eventful evening so far. Of course, we had the red flag in the first race before. We just had a very eventful second race as well. Multiple of the top drivers dropping down. And then conversely, Matt Richards from the back coming to the front. So it was definitely a very up and down race so far. Myself, Cameron Roger and Zach Sweeney alongside me for this one. We're just about to get into that third race. Zach, but certainly been quite a crazy night so far.
It has been, but it's not disappointed at all. I've thoroughly enjoyed each and every single minute, lap, of racing action. And yeah, it's been so fast-paced, so high intensity, and well, what more did we really expect? I mean, Matt Richards charging his way through the field, especially when sort of Herlock had his issues, but both of them in some capacity have still managed to recover to some decent positions. And also with Herlock taking that 8th place, will have the reverse grid pole position going into race 3. Huge stuff for him and huge stuff for the championship as well. So yeah, plenty still at play, and well, we've still had plenty of curveball thrown at us.
Yeah, with what we saw in... Actually, I don't know how they're going to sort out race 1 in terms of points with the red flag and everything. But if points did come from that, potentially, there would be a big gain there for Herlock, and then that would have been reversed. So approximately, we're looking at a similar points total coming into this race, and we only have a bit of quick maths, including this one, 10 races to go this season, including this race 3. So we're starting to get to that point where you need to start counting down the amount of races that we have left in the season. And I definitely think it's going to be a close battle between Herlock and Richards. But any major mistake is going to be interesting. Here we are for the final race of the evening. We have, I'm not sure that's the correct grid. Yeah, because we do have one of the RSR drivers on the front row of the grid as Dan Kell last time around. Here we are, Dan Herlock, there we go. We have Callum Cripps on the front row, Ben Willis in 3rd place, with Thomas Vack in 4th. Good opportunity for Willis to get some nice points today. And then, of course, it's your top 8 reverse. So here is the remainder, is Jack London, Matt Richards, John Munro, and then Ross McGregor. So that is your top 8 that has been reversed for this race. Everyone else below is the finishing position from the previous race. Thomas O'Leary just missing out in 9th place, Callum Wilson in 10th, Louis Hartley in 11th, and then Phil Morby in 12th place. And all of these drivers will be hoping to sneak the final few points that they can today. Adam Christopher in 13th, Leppert in 14th, Luke Mitchell and Cam Brewster they're inside your top 16. All those drivers there will be trying to get into the points, with P15 being the final point. Churgwin and Scott Cervic 17 and 18, Adam Locke and Ryan Elliott rounding out your top 20. We've lost another driver because we only have 22 for the final race. We've got Dan Kell and Scott Morris on the final row. What do you think, Zach, the likes of Elliott and Kell can do? Can they come up the field like we saw Richards, or are they going to get caught up in those mid-pack battles?
Oh, who knows what could happen from a race like this. I mean, again, it depends how cooperative Dan Kell's wheel is. I suppose that's one part of it. The next part of it is, yeah, how cooperative the midfield is in allowing him to battle his way forward. If there's any person that can do it, well, Matt Richards, obviously, but in this race, Dan Kell.
Dan Herlock on the front row of the grid. He got a great start last time around from the second row, and as you see, it's so compact. The grid here is really proper old school. As you go to the countdown sequence, it's Herlock and Cripps on the front row, Willis and Vack in behind. Final race of the evening to round out round 7 of TCUK, and it's a good start there. A penalty for Elliott though. He's jump started, unfortunately. Thomas Vack through the middle is going to be potentially an RSR. 1 and 2, 3 wide in towards Duffer's Dip. Around the outside it's going to be from Matt Richards. Huge risk there for your reigning champion, as it's going to be Thomas Vack has to drop down in the end. Then Willis holds on to that second place, as Cripps as well with London. They've been going side by side as everyone works their way into single file through the chicane. Off in the background, we've seen Leppert, Cervic as well, cutting the chicane. So there's definitely been some shenanigans as Richards goes up into second place. He gets past Willis.
He does. A bit shaky though, as a couple of dust being kicked up in the background. Thomas Vack under a lot of pressure as Jack London tries to find his way through. Also look from Ross McGregor as well. Our race 2 winner looking to the inside of the final corner on lap number 1. Herlock leads from Richards, the 2 championship rivals heading the field as Thomas Vack tries to thwart the attack from McGregor, and I think he's done exactly that. Absolute carnage in the background as well as multiple cars. I think Phil Morby and Dan Keller side by side. Hang on. Dan Kell, he started in the 20s. He's now 13th place at the end of the lap 1. Fair play.
And he's diving up the inside of someone else. There's that potentially Morby for 12th place. He's trying to make it through. Good stuff there for Kell. We also saw that with Richards in the previous race as well. So you definitely can send it around this track and make up some places. Oh no! Who goes off? Is that Mitchell? Yes, it is, into the barrier. He's been joined by, I think, Adam Locke, potentially, or at least one of the quarterfinals. Oh, huge contact again coming through Clark. That, I didn't even see which car that was. It went off so fast. I think it's Louis Hartley. He's dropping down the way, having another crash. Massive crashes here we're seeing, as round the outside is going to be there for Thomas O'Leary getting up into 8th. What on earth did we just see, Zach?
Absolute carnage. That's the only really way that we can put it. It's been the theme of this evening. Thomas O'Leary following Ross McGregor all the way to the extremity of the inside of the circuit. They go too wide, too deep. Bit of a lock up in the background as well as Callum Wilson is being attacked by John Munro. And, well, we'll have a look as to what happened here. Adam Christopher, to be fair, it was that or the barrier. And
the barrier is solid. So yeah, I definitely see what you mean with that as they continue to battle. Now around the outside is going to be for Munro. Keeps it out of the gravel as well. It's huge send from Kell in the background trying to get involved in this battle. As who is that trying to get past as well? Is there going to be Callum Wilson getting up the inside of Munro in towards the final hairpin, as it's going to be O'Leary also looking up the inside of McGregor side by side with Wilson and Munro now. Also in behind, we've seen Kell trying to get past Morby up the straight. 2 by 2 they go. Well, who is going to come out on top in these battles? Of course, crucial at this point in the race to try and give yourself enough laps to make the moves. Kell did make the move, but unfortunately Wilson could not.
Not quite. Again, another look as to what's happened. Johan Leppert to the inside of turn 1, just loops the car around because of the undulation, and then in a bit, mate. Yeah, right.
Is that a second spin?
Maybe.
I think that might be a second one from Leppert. He's not having a great day, is he? We've got Mitchell, Christopher, Adam Locke out of this race so far, and then Leppert is all the way down the back as the drivers all over the gravel coming onto the railway straight. The two teammates go side by side in towards the braking zone. Munro up the inside of McGregor. The two Scottish drivers at their home race. Munro gets through, 20 laps remaining. Wilson now gets a run on Kell actually, but Kell is going to have a bit of the slipstream from the Toyotas ahead of him. He's going to keep that position, and actually he might now be able to have a go round the outside of Duffer's Dip. He's going to have to back out of that one. That's not where you make an overtake.
It's not, but it's certainly somewhere you can make a huge mistake. Callum Wilson all over the back of Dan Kell again. Sensational stuff that he's already inside the top 10, and the fact that it's such a big train as well could open the door for this to be a hugely good result for Kell, despite the hardship that he's shown coming into this race. Already inside the top 10 and on the back of what could very easily be more. I doubt a podium, but with the fact that we're queuing up behind Jack London, could definitely still be a top 5. He goes to the outside of John Munro, and is he going to be able to, oh, Ross McGregor I should say, and he does get himself up into 9th place. Dan Kell flooring the car, and well, there we go, beautiful stuff. Matt Richards with a fast lap time, also Callum Wilson trying to move his way inside the top 10 ahead of McGregor. Thomas O'Leary trying to find himself to the outside of Thomas Fack. There's just too much going on, Cam.
There's so much action, all of the overtakes and potential overtakes. Oh, in fact, that's going to be deep. Can he save it? I think he's just about managed to do so, but that gives O'Leary the run up the inside, which is not quite enough. And into the chicane, O'Leary needs to try and get a good run, as once again we see the RSR cars struggling out of the chicane there. And that's not going to be good, actually. That's going to be too tight on the inside for Vac coming onto the railway straight. He's going to get a good run round the outside, though, the long way round of the King, as of course we're still seeing Munro in the background trying to get involved in this one. Up the inside comes Dan Kell as well, as they go 2 by 2 in towards the braking zone. Kell maybe making 2 places. He does, as he's going to get the inside run up towards the first corner.
Yeah, well, continuing the fight as the show must go on, and oh my word, into turn 1. Oh, there's contact between the two of them, and he's sent wide as Thomas Fack. John Munro picks his way through. Callum Wilson wants to slice of the pie as well, up into 9th place. Oh, that was a lot, all crammed into the space of just 2 corners. And oh my goodness me, Munro's off. He's managed to hold it, but is he going to hold position? He's not. He's going to lose 1. Only 1?
Yeah, the rocket cars are struggling with the weight in this battle. Oh, as he's managing somehow to hold on to it once again at the next corner, losing. Oh, and also losing it. It's Thomas Fack on the exit curbs. I definitely think those RSR cars, they struggle on the exits of corners. We see Ryan Elliott as well. We see Thomas Fack, they're really struggling on the exit of some of these corners, really sliding that rear end. Maybe down to the rear wheel drive nature, maybe something with the setup that they need to look into at the future races. But it's definitely been common in those cars today. Dan Kell from the back up towards 7th place already. He's got 3rd place driver in the championship coming into this round, Thomas O'Leary ahead of him, and then they've got Ben Willis. He was up into 2nd place. He's slowly been dropping down, but still holding a top 5 position at the moment.
Yeah, well, for now anyway. With how topsy-turvy this race could be, we've still got 2/3 of it left to go, and well, the tides can very, very quickly change at the drop of a pin, and well, the blink of an eye sometimes as well. Already lost a couple of people from this race, the likes of Morris, Locke, Christopher and Mitchell, but still 18 cars strong, and well, quite a dominant lead, it must be said, from Herlock out in front. However, that fight, what could be for the podium behind Cripps, London, Willis, and etc. Oh, what a race this could well be. Herlock, low 49s in the race, which is a very, very quick, very respectable time as well. Phil Morby trying to fight with Ross McGregor for what could be 10th place. He has the run up over at the crest on the pit straight, and then we plateau. Slight downhill dip going in towards turn 1 and 2. Late on the brakes for Phil Morby. He's inside the top 10, but he goes in deep. Could we see McGregor on the fight back? Yes, we can. Textbook move, back up the inside for 3.
Yeah, that's the classic Knockhill move there, doing sort of the up and under through Duffer's dip and then round the outside in towards McIntyre, sending it over the curbs as they do. And this just proves as well with the rocket cars, they were so dominant in that second race. Of course, there's a couple of crashes ahead of them, but they're so dominant after a few laps, but now really struggling with the reverse grid and the ballast that comes with that as well. Kell up the inside of O'Leary. That's going to be 6th place now for the Calamity driver. And Ben Willis up the way. Great stuff as they continue. He continues his way forward. Phil Morby now looking at the top 10 position. He's got another rocket car up ahead of him, of course, and now trying to get the run up towards the first corner. Once again, it's not the biggest braking zone, but it is enough if you want to go around the outside, if you want to be brave. But Morby's going to have to back out of that one as McGregor holds on to that as it stands. Of course, he needs to look in his mirrors though. Churquin, Cervic, Brewster all lining up.
Oh, well. Oh, wow. Thomas O'Leary's off the road as well. He's lost down to 7th place, kicking up some dust, and straight away Dan Kell is on the move, maybe for what could be 5th place. Ben Willis in the first third of this race. Dan Kell has been on fire over the grass, unfortunately, is the Seat Krupa, who tries to go the long way round, but Dan Kell on the inside holds firm and gets himself into 5th place. 2 seconds up to his teammate Jack London, though that's going to be a bit of a fight to climb up and maybe ask for a little bit more in this race. But the fact that we've seen 2 drivers across 2 races, Matt Richards in race 2, Dan Kell in race 3, is sideways there from Willis. Fair play for holding it, but really just goes to show the race ability of Knockhill that 2 drivers have been able to make, going on 20 places in a race.
And this is why it needs to be on the calendar. It's just such a crazy race, and it's really something a bit unique. And despite being difficult, as you say, you can actually make the overtakes if you are sort of smart and if you're not causing the carnage. So O'Leary's now going to have the inside line that's going to gain him a few centimetres, but it'll then be the outside to the braking zone. Can he go all the way round? Is Ben Willis going to brake late enough? Yes, he does, to hold on to that. Squeezing in potential on the exit. No, he gives racing room. O'Leary's going to be thankful for that one as they come side by side up through the pit entry. The tiniest bit of slipstream from Dan Kell ahead. Is there going to be anything for Ben Willis to defend from this one in towards turn 1, in towards Duffer's dip? No, they cannot. So Ben Willis drops down to 7th place and Thomas O'Leary up to 6th. He's having a really good race. Now he actually has a rear wing on his car for that little bit of extra stability, and just showing you how that consistent results is why O'Leary's up there in the championship.
It really is, and his the run of form he's had recently is insane. I don't know what he started eating for breakfast, but I want some. Let's put it that way. He's just been a man on a mission, whatever his prep work is, and he's put in a lot of time. Maybe it's just the second half of the season in terms of the tracks just worked better for him. But I mean, he's always been up there, but nothing quite like this. Ryan Elliott unfortunately does a bit of lawn mowing again. Phil Morby trying to go the long way around to John Munro and get himself, or I should say Ross McGregor. This is still the fight for 10th as McGregor is on the countback. Oh my God, we talk about one thing, but immediately we happen to talk about another, because these guys, they don't rest.
It's so difficult, this circuit. Elliott, once again, just not having the day. Coming up over the, just way too much compression there. Obviously not hitting the right line. Goes for a spin. He span at this corner, but on the exit curb, not on the apex, which is very interesting. And I do wonder, huge save from Cervic in the background. And I was about to just say, maybe this is more of a front-wheel drive track. I'm not too sure about that one, because we've definitely seen the rear-wheel drive struggle a little bit more on the exits of these corners, seemingly this time around. As on cue, that was Cervic, also in a rear-wheel drive car, having some struggles. Up towards the front, Dan Herlock is now leading by 9 seconds to Cripps in London. Matt Richards has dropped down from that 2nd place to 4th.
Oh, not really the best of races from Matt Richards, it must be said, but still, I guess, good damage limitation. But, look at that, up over 2 wheels. Phil Morby, I know it's the norm, but it still shocks me every single time I see it. I just expect it to flip over. It won't, probably. We haven't seen that yet. Scott Sovic, what's happened to him? This is his save from earlier in the lap. Over the sausage curb, the car dips down, bottoms out again, and then goes sideways. And then he just sort of presses the tap on the brakes to like bring the car back in. That quick thinking, quick hands.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, he was just completely the wrong line, and he sort of, when you come over, he almost came over too early as such, and the front really dipped, and he was struggled from that one as the rear goes completely loose at that point. And now, coming on to lap 15 we're on now, so 10 to go including this one. Situation is Herlog leading by 9 seconds, 1.5 back to Jack London, who's now got Matt Richards and also London's teammate Dan Kell all over the back. Look at the absolute send there from Kell over the chicane. He was basically turning left in the air and going at a diagonal over the bumps. Absolutely love that one. And he's chasing down the back of Matt Richards. They do have O'Leary not too far behind as well. If some battling comes in the way of these three drivers in towards the final corner now, can Dan Kell find his way through the championship leader?
Well, maybe so. John Monroe looking to fight with Willis. This is for 8th place, bit of contact on the exit as the Toyota pushes the limits of the track. And, well, John Monroe, again, having a pretty decent evening today and into the final third of race 3. He's unfortunately going to have to concede that position for now with Willis. However, dust being kicked up in this three-way fight behind Jack London for the final place on the podium. Dan Kell is a part of it, and podium definitely is on the cards here.
I definitely agree with that one as well. But that's not a good exit though from London. Richards definitely had the best one in that sequence, but also Kell had a huge run out of Clark. Coming up towards the final corner, Richards goes to the inside, London sort of somewhere in the middle, and Kell to the left-hand side of the track. All the lines being used. Coming in towards the final corner, not the best though from Kell. Lost about a half car length coming out of that final corner. O'Leary's now all over the back of them. It's a proper four-way battle for the final places on the podium. Cripps is actually too far ahead, so it might just be the one final place on the podium if they continue battling. London trying to hold on to it. Richards looking to the inside but can't find a way through.
Not quite for now, and he's got to really think of something quite quickly, because Dan Kell is not going to be one that wants to wait, especially when he's got Thomas O'Leary breathing down his neck, forcing him to make something happen. So Richards has got a lot of pressure, but someone that is definitely going to be feeling it is Jack London. That goes without saying. I mean, he's going to be pushing hard to potentially catch after Cripps, but I think his main priority is keeping Matt Richards, Dan Kell and Thomas O'Leary behind, which is very harsh, by the way, as Matt Richards goes for this end to the inside of the final corner. Jack London sees it coming, gives him the space, bit of contact on the exit, and now it's a drag race towards turn number 1. Dan Kell could very easily make it 3 wide as well, gone all the way to the inside. He's over the bumps on the grass. He's forced to back out of it though. Matt Richards maybe onto the podium.
That almost worked out perfectly as London tries to hold it around the outside. His teammates now going to get the move through McIntyre's. Here comes Thomas O'Leary as well. 3 places lost for London in the space of a couple of corners, but that almost worked out perfectly. Oh, huge contact between the two of them. O'Leary somehow saves that. Wow, front wheel drive, more contact between the two. Can he save it for a second time with a front wheel drive? No, he can't, as huge contact is made. O'Leary ends up in the wall for the 3rd or 4th time this evening as London drops down. Messy racing up towards the podium battle, and it's worked out that Richards is in 3rd, Kell is in behind as London drops 2 seconds back.
Oh, he does, which is a huge shame for him. Monroe looking for some space on Willis as well to find himself up in the 7th place. Huge stuff at this stage in the race, and a shame for London, it must be said, but down to 5th, still in 5th I suppose. Not at all a bad result in of itself, but could have been a podium. Now we get Matt Richards versus Dan Kell, John Monroe as well versus Ben Willis, looking to the inside of turn 1, and that, Cooper, I have to say, it's looking a little bit sideways.
Yeah, certainly is. Let's see this from on board with Jack London coming up through Butchers now. Oh yeah, he touches the rear left, and then just the slightest contact. O'Leary managed to save it, but it was this one here again. Oh, and again, just the slightest of contact. But O'Leary was, I mean, he couldn't do much about saving it that time around, but he was just trying to come across and cover. But because of the angle that he was at, front wheel drive car, everything's on the front. So if you get any sort of pressure on the rear, we just go spinning, as we've seen multiple times this season. So easy to do so. But that is also what happens when you start pushing the limits. But it does mean we have another DNF. 16 cars remain.
Yeah, well, only 4 and a bit laps remain as well in this race, and it really has been a race of attrition. Huge shame for Thomas O'Leary, Elliott, Morris, Locke, the rest of them, Christopher Mitchell as well, to round off the DNFs. Has been a hugely difficult race, set of races here at Knockhill. And again, going back to what we were saying about the difficulties of this track, it will chew you up and spit you out if you allow it to. But John Munro still in this battle with Willis, looks to the left-hand side, but not quite able to make anything happen just yet over the slight little uphill climb, and now through the kink, and then we'll run away into the hairpin. He has found himself on the inside line. He has found himself just a nose ahead as they battle their way through the bumps. It is going to be Willis on the outside though, and he has got the agility. John Munro's just got that little bit of a better run to the inside of the final corner.
And I still think this is a good result from Willis. Of course, he wants to fight it. Coming towards turn 1, he is actually going to do so. Still side by side. Munro's going to have to fight this round the outside of Duffers Dip, and he manages to just get through in the braking zone. But Ben Willis up inside the top 8. He should still be pretty happy with that one. Got himself inside the reverse grid places. Was up at second place at one point, and he's just slowly one by one let them through. So he hasn't had that sort of downward spiral sequence that you can get if you have a whole train of cars behind. They've just one by one come through over the course of the 22 laps so far, and if he can keep himself ahead of Morby there in that 9th place, 2 seconds back, I think that's going to work out well for him. The issue is he's got 3 drivers actually, including McGregor and Churgwin, coming for him as we've got just 2 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, not long left to go at all. Probably only about a minute and a half worth of racing action in of itself into the low 49s in terms of race pace here at Knockhill, which is a very quick lap time from Dan Hurlock at the front. 10.5 second lead, by the way, is insane around a circuit this short. Dan Hurlock's race 3 has been nothing short of absolutely sensational, but we continue the battles a little bit further down. The fight for the podium between Richards and Kell, and well, Kell, if he can get himself onto the podium after starting in the 20s, would be huge for him. But again, still to be in 4th place, still to be in the top 10 is a massive result in of itself. Wilson putting some pressure on Jack London as well. We head away into the penultimate lap of this race, and I'm sure there's still going to be a twist to come.
I potentially think so, as we're seeing quite a few battles coming on to the final couple of laps of the evening. Of course, race 3 for this round 7. Just 3 rounds remaining TCUK, and just a few corners remaining in this race. Ben Willis, he is not done with that P7. He wants it back from John Munro, who got past at this corner 1 lap ago, but Willis can't return the favour this time, but he doesn't have too long to go. As Hurlock, he's so far in the lead, he's already coming actually to start the final lap of the day. He's already left in the background. Hartley's gone for a DNF as well. Huge save there from Munro for 7th place, as these guys are half a lap behind. I know it's a short lap, but crazy scenes with just the speed that we've seen from Hurlock at the front of this field. He's got now in towards the final corner. Ben Willis round the outside. He's trying to come back through the Rocket Sim Sport driver. Can he hold it? No, I think Munro's just going to have enough to squeeze him out and hold on to that battle for now, but we do have those 3 cars coming in behind. It's certainly been a fast and frantic race. Willis to the outside once again. What's it going to be this time? Side by side between the 2. He's going to hold that one to the outside as they continue their battles. Very close to the finish of this race, of course, and everyone wants that final opportunity to get past, but it's going to be Dan Hurlock out to the final corner. He's going to win by an absolute country mile. We don't often see this, but over 10 seconds is going to be his margin of victory to Callum Cripps in that 2nd place to get a Richards & Co Racing 2 and 3 towards the line, with Dan Kell getting 4th place. 5th place for London is going to be with Wilson in behind. Any final moves into the hairpin? Can anyone do something around the outside? Potentially Ben Willis is going to go side by side up the hill. Who's got the most push to pass and left in the hybrid system up towards the line? Can Willis nick it? I think he might have just done it to the line by 20 thousandths of a second. Ben Willis takes that 7th place. 8th for John Munro. Morby inside the top 10 with a P9 finish, and Ross McGregor rounding out your top 10. Lovely finish by Ben Willis there. Did not give up, and I think is going to be given that position. But here are your results. Dan Hurlock with Callum Cripps and Matt Richards rounding out the podium. Hurlock gaining a few points on Richards there. Very crucial for this championship fight. Dan Kell is in 4th place with his teammate Jack London in behind. Callum Wilson is 6th with Ben Willis just sneaking that 7th place from John Munro in 8th. Phil Morby is in 9th, and Ross McGregor down in 10th place. So the Rocket not able to gain too many positions, but still a solid afternoon of racing. Chugwin in 11th, Cervic in 12th place, Thomas Vack dropping down the way to 13th place, with Cam Brewster, and Cam Brewster being the last driver on the lead lap, because Leppert was a lap down, your final finisher of the day. And here comes a whole load of DNFs. You've got Hartley and O'Leary, Ryan Elliott, Scott Morris, and Adam Locke as well for your P20. And then your final couple of drivers is Adam Christopher and Luke Mitchell. Zach, what a carnage-filled race. But a lot of it was actually in almost nice battles as such, just hard, aggressive moves, but definitely too many spins and too many cars in the barrier for our liking.
Yeah, a couple of huge mistakes, but some huge pivotal moments in terms of the championship. I mean, the up and down roller coaster of an event that it was for Herlock and Richards. Both had their lows, both had their highs. Huge stuff in the championship going into the final 3 rounds. And I'm just looking forward to the next couple of weeks and, you know, when we can go again, because, yeah, it never ceases to amaze for the VMO TCUK. It's just absolutely sensational week in, week out. And I'm excited, because obviously the gap in the championship is a little bit big. We'll see what it's like going into the next round, but it could very easily still be wide open. But yeah, obviously on a more sort of self-improvement side of things from a lot of these drivers, there is some things to still be improved on: consistency, decision-making, racecraft, and all those sorts of things. But, well, experience is the best teacher, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of lessons learned after today.
Yes, certainly been an interesting one. There's quite a few drivers actually coming for some interviews. Hard to decide who we're going to get. Let's try and get Matt Richards actually first to, of course, speak to your championship leader. But Matt Richards, that was a massively eventful evening, of course, dropping down in race 1 there, having to come back through race 2, and then also challenging for the podium in race 3. Just try and sum up that for us.
Frantic. It's a bit of a topsy-turvy one, to be honest. Made a mistake reloading my setup just before race 1 started, which is obviously set for softs for qualifying, and started on the wrong tyres, which is what happened there. So that was a pretty poor start to the evening, but I mean, depending on what happens for the points for race 1, could be not too bad. And just pushing as hard as I could for the last 2 then.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty crazy action. How do you almost keep calm in those situations? Because you made so many decisive moves, especially in that second race, to really get yourself back up. And fortunately, obviously, Herlock had the issue in race 2 as well, so you didn't lose that. Well, actually, you gained points in championship. But yeah, just how do you keep calm when you're coming through those battles and you don't have the ballast, so you're really fast, but you're fighting guys that you're not actually fighting in the championship?
It's rough, but at the end of the day, you've just got to be quite firm with your overtakes, and a lot of the guys are quite understanding when you're pushing that hard, and they understand that maybe you're not the guy that they're fighting that much. So there were a lot of people that were quite respectful with me. But yeah, it's Knockhill, so there's never a dull moment. There's always something going on. There's always a surprise waiting around the corner. So yeah, just trying to hope that it didn't go too badly. And I think, depending on how the points fall for race 1, I will have lost a few points. It would have been nice to be another position closer to Dan in race 3. But yeah, we'll just see how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, and certainly good luck for that. Just 3 rounds to go. So yeah, we'll see you next time out for Donington.
Thank you very much.
And now we'll bring in a race winner, of course. A pretty solid evening for the Rocket SimSport drivers. Bit of carnage ahead of you, Ross, especially for that second race. But yeah, just how did that one go for you this evening?
Oh, well, race 2 was absolutely hilarious. Like, me and John were just... so we started 6th and 7th, I think, on the grid. And then we were up to 5th and 6th by, like, turn 1, turn 2. And then, like, after the chicane, just... the ways parted, and like we were 1-2 halfway around the lap. So we got it together enough to like concentrate and try and just look after our battery and stuff like that. So we were keeping it steady. But Jack London, I think he was on mediums, so he did really well to kind of hang on. But yeah, like it's just such a strange race. But yeah, it's good to get like a 1-2, and not at Knockhill as well for the Scots, so that's pretty decent. But yeah, it's been a long time coming. Like the past 2 or 3 rounds, pace has kind of got a little bit better. Kind of worked on the setup a little bit more, and we're kind of seeing a little bit better results at the moment. But we're still not quick enough. So there's always that. But yeah, it was such a hilarious race 2, and then race 3 it was just pain with weight. You couldn't do anything with the weight on board. So overall, yeah, decent race.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually for that third race. And I mean, you sort of summed up, but how different actually is that car with the weight on it? Because it just seemed like you couldn't really make any progress. You sort of stayed in that battle for sort of P8, P9, P10 the whole race.
Yeah, so actually the weight doesn't make a huge difference in the corners around Knockhill, because obviously you're like 2 wheels and just absolutely sending it everywhere. It's coming out of the hairpin where it's so bad. Like you can't, even on push to pass, you just can't compete with people that have got no weight. So yeah, it made it tricky. But yeah, I think we aimed for top 10 race 3 and we kind of got it. So yeah, satisfied with that.
And so thanks for coming to speak to us, and we'll see you hopefully for another interview for the final 3 rounds. Good luck for that.
No worries, thank you.
And lastly, we'll bring in Dan Kell for the final interview of the day. Dan, you had such good pace at the front, of course, being pole position as well, especially for that second race, but just it didn't quite go for you today until that third race. Just explain to us the issues that you came up with against today.
Yeah, so it's quite annoying really, because in practice I showed quite good pace. Like in the practice just before quali, I was like 10th and a half clear of everyone. I was like, yes, come on, right, this is my time. I can get another pole position. Just quali didn't fully work. I just couldn't, just get that lap together, because it's quite hard round Knockhill with the way these curbs are. You've got to get quite lucky that you hit the curb correctly. Just didn't fall for me, and so I was happy with third, and obviously P2 start for race 1 because of Ryan's penalty. And yeah, I took the lead, and then obviously the whole disconnect thing happened. So I think I have won race 1, because I think they're going to count it back and just call it at half race distance. So I'll take that. And then yeah, race 2, I'm guessing it was caught on the live stream, but yeah, I made a mistake out of chicane. Tried to save the car, thought I'd saved it. Then just as I was about to get back on track, I had a really awkward bump, which just sent me back to the infield, and I was like, I'm a passenger here. I was like full brake, right hand lock, and then unfortunately, yeah, made contact with Dan, which I'm very sorry for. I apologise to him. I can't apologise enough. Yeah, I feel quite bad. But yeah, race 3, great race from 21st to 4th. I'll take that. It was quite good fun battling people and getting through.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was on broadcast, so you can go and have a look at that one later. Was not a nice scene. But yeah, for race 3, you made such a good stop. Just tell us about that lap 1. You made up some like 10 positions just on that first lap or 2.
Yeah, I wish it could have been a little bit more, because obviously Matt in race 2 had got up to 11th by at the end of lap 1. I only got to 14th, so I was like, damn it, I want to beat his record. But no, it was good actually. It was a little bit of a scary start really, because I think Ryan was in front of me and he like half jumped the start, which I think caught everyone out around us, and no one really like went away. So I think, because I was starting on the right side of the grid, next minute I'm up against the pit wall, and I've done about 4 cars before you can get to the start line. I'm like, oh my, this is going well. And yeah, just picked them off really, just one by one. It was a little bit chaos, because obviously the people back there, I am a couple of attempts a lap faster than, and obviously in lap 1 they're all quite cautious with braking and whatever, and then there's me trying to get through. I'm like, oh, and but no, it was good. Don't think there was much contact or anything, and it seemed all very nice around where I was, which is good, because obviously, yeah, sometimes especially Knockhill can be quite a lot of contact around and people firing each other off, but it seemed pretty good.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks for speaking to us, and good luck for the final few rounds of the season.
No worries, thank you.
So that just about concludes it from here at Knockhill. The Scottish Highlands have been the scene for the action today. Round 7 of the TCUK for 2023. Just 3 rounds remain. We got Donington Park at the GP, the full GP track, before going to Silverstone National and Brands GP to finish the season. So just, not too many weeks left already, just about 5 weeks left. 5-6 weeks left in this championship, and then we'll be over and we'll know who the champion is going to be. It's a big battle between Richards and Herlock as we come into the final 3 rounds. Just 9 races remain. Who is going to take the championship? We'll have to find out next time, the 13th of September. We'll be back at Donington. We thank you for watching. Myself, Cameron Rogers, Zach Sweeney alongside me in the commentary box, and of course Mike Yao of Simply Race doing the production behind the scenes. We thank you for watching, and until the next race, it's goodbye for now.